Hi, welcome to Get Known, Be Seen Web TV. I'm your host, Trish Springsteen, and it's my absolute delight to be welcoming my guest for this session, Tessa Richter. Welcome, Tessa. How are you?
Hi Trish, so good to be here, and I'm fine. It's very bright and early, but I'm ready to go and happy to be here.
Absolutely delighted. And people, Tessa's all the way from Switzerland. So I just love the connections in the global community that we have here. So that's why it's a little bit early for Tessa in Switzerland. So thank you so much for being up. Before we get into our conversation with Tessa, let's discover a little bit more about who Tessa is. Okay, Tessa Richter has always been fascinated by what humans can accomplish. Tessa's journey has led her inside to explore practices such as meditation and mindset techniques, and outside to modern physics as a way to understand how the universe functions, as well as to spiritual practices around the world. Tessa developed her own potential in many successful careers as a classical musician, a visual artist, a spiritual counsellor, and language trainer with her own business. For the last 10 years, Tessa has helped leaders, including creatives, specialists, and C-level executives, through crises and to the next level of leadership, finding their voice by developing their hidden potential. Based on her own lifelong quest, and the stunning results of her clients, Tessa published a book called Our Secret Potential, a new approach to purpose, performance, and well-being in the 21st century. And we're certainly going to speak with Tessa about her book and about her business. Welcome, Tessa. So delighted to have you.
I'm happy to be here.
So much in that short bio that we're going to try and unpack a little bit about it. So maybe just let's start with your journey. There's a lot of things that you've been doing. So how have you managed to put those together and come from there to here?
That's a very good question. When I started out, I certainly didn't think I would end up coaching C-level executives, to be honest. I started with music fairly early on, like most professional classical musicians. And maybe what's interesting in this context of, being fascinated by human potential, I remember I was about 14 years old, practicing. I played the piano and the flute, and wondering how on earth you could create such wonderful music. It seemed to me like flying to the moon. It was that far out and unreachable. And by just following my own inner guidance, but also what life brought to me, I ended up 30 years later actually creating my own music with 3 CDs that I published. So this is what I try to share in my book. It's complex because life is not linear, straightforward, the way we are brought up to believe. If I do X, then Y happens. So all the things I explored were about this. And one thing I found is that if we trust life, and maybe that's the most important lesson and the most difficult lesson for me, it will take us by the hand, lead us through crises, through difficult situations, to the next level of who we are meant to be. And we come out, like flying to the moon.
And it is that complex, the bit about trusting life. That takes a big leap, a big jump off into the unknown, doesn't it?
Absolutely. So, I mean, it took 30 years for me to compose music, but I wasn't even setting out to become a composer, It was just a question I had in my mind, and life kind of answered the question. So on a practical level, I started out, I first studied languages, then I studied music. I didn't have much support for music, so I started with the safe studies because I was brought up in 3 different languages in different countries. Then I studied music. I became a professional musician. I performed internationally. I was doing fine and successful, and yet I just felt that there was something else, which many people can't understand, because they think, well, if you're into music, that's it. And it is in a way. But so what I was curious was to explore expression, creative, artistic expression inside of me. Like classical music, it's given, you know, you have the structure of the music that you play and perform, and you learn to play the music that's there. And I was interested what would come out of me if it wasn't given, you know, if I connected to something, I didn't know what, inside, or, you know, universal, or some people maybe call it God, or, you know, something spiritual maybe, or just inspiration. And that's how I got into painting and sculpting. And that was like the beginning of my second career. I stopped performing, and when I stopped performing as a musician and teaching, I needed an income, obviously, because I was selling my paintings, but not, you know, I wasn't doing commercial, I wasn't interested in the commercial aspect so much as the exploration of my potential. So the obvious thing seemed to be languages. I started teaching languages. I was offered a job teaching in a business. Now this was like totally foreign to me, and it was like totally stressful because it was such a different environment. So I set up my own language business. I went into, I did in-house trainings with various companies. And as a result of that, I was asked to do some coaching for expats' spouses, because I was working in this field. And that was the start to me becoming a coach for executives, professionals who had lost their careers, who were facing health issues, to leadership training, etc. That's like the fairly short version. But every time it was like, you know, okay, so I followed either an inner impulse or something that life threw at me. And the last big curveball and big challenge was I got sick, and I questioned everything I'd done. And I thought, why am I getting sick if I've been following my inner calling, you know? And I realized that there was one element missing, which has become like a very central element also of my book and what I'm now proposing, teaching, coaching. And that is, I had learned to love others unconditionally, but not myself. And I started exploring, what does this loving myself mean, you know? And I understood that it means that I love where I am, what I've created, the person I've become, the body I've become, everything. It's not just about my essence, but it's all of what I've created or not created, as the case may be, you know? And this has been, I see it as, you know, if knowing yourself is like knowing how you're wired, what you're made of and meant to be, love is the actual energy, the current that goes through the wiring. And then you need to use that to create what matters. Otherwise, that energy can go stale and you get sick.
Absolutely brilliant. I love that. People, you're going to have to stop this and go back and rewind and listen to what Tess has just said, because there's some very big gold nuggets there. The first thing that I liked was, in the first part, was the rigidity you found with the classical music. And it's, I guess you could probably liken it, I suppose, to whether you want to colour inside the lines or colour outside the lines. And I found that great, that when you took that step outside, things just grew. And that takes courage to break what you're normally doing and explore. So awesome with that. And where it took you, I think that's marvellous in that journey, because if you hadn't done that, maybe you would not have further in your journey. So I think that's brilliant. The other thing that really resonated with me, and there's a really great gold nugget there, people, is loving yourself. It's, as I mentioned with my own mentoring clients, when you own who you are, warts and all, that's extremely powerful. And I love how your journey has taken you to becoming more creative and fluid, to finally finding who you are and having that courage to love yourself. Thank you so much for sharing that. That is a brilliant journey. And today it's brought you to where you are. And what you're doing today, what is it that you do today, and how is that? Obviously these things have changed your life. So what's it done for you to where you are now?
Well, as I mentioned before, I would never, ever have seen myself where I am now. And that is, again, due to life. So, life in its varied aspects, coming from inside or outside, like the last thing being the illness kind of thing. But also as a result of that, I opened up myself again to life, because I thought, okay, I don't know where this is going to take me. I really, really had no clue. So I stopped everything I was doing basically to heal. I used everything I, developed over the course of my life, and I waited for life to step in, and it stepped in by offering me the chance to do these, business coaching professionals in crisis, basically. And I realized that even though I didn't know how the business world ticks, and how, what skills are required to be a head of marketing, for instance. I now know all that. I would have thought that that would be like impossible for me to learn from the outside. It's not. But what I realized, that I had all the necessary abilities to help these people. And I probably wouldn't have gone for that if I hadn't been in that situation, to be honest, because I would have just thought, there's no way I can do that because I'm too foreign to that world. But now I'm finding it's giving me a really deep satisfaction, because I feel I'm really making a difference. I'm helping people in crisis. So it's a point where they really need someone. I have all this life experience that I can offer. And because of the packaging, because I'm well educated, I have a lot of experience, a certain age, I'm well grounded, I can also talk about things that maybe other people can't. I can do some guided meditations, which, other people would say, oh, that esoteric stuff, I don't want to hear about it, because I used all this as a high performing artist. People respect it. I'm not just some, whatever. And I can talk about, the things that I talk about, like life, co-creating, and all these things, and loving who you are. I had a CFO, lost his job. He was very high achiever. Usually they are, obviously, people who achieve a lot. And but they're high achievers like I was in music, like pushed under pressure, not allowing themselves to step back, to reflect, to use your intuition, to use inner guidance, etc. And he finally said, I hate myself. And I mean, for somebody, they have to trust you to be able to say something like that.
Yes, that's awesome.
And then, so you have to somehow bridge that, if I had just come as a musician or just an artist or a spiritual counselor, they would not have listened to me. And I was able to, suggest some things. He had some issues, unresolved issues with his father, which we didn't, I'm not a psychologist, so I don't, analyze things. I just give tools, very simple tools, where people can heal themselves, basically. Yeah.
Brilliant. I love that. I love what you've just said, and it's an important element for our viewers, because often we get ourselves constrained into what we think is, this is what I do, and this is where I'm going. And when we try and challenge people to, well, try something different, they say, well, I don't have that experience. And what you've shared is that you can take your life experience, everything that you've done, educational life experience, expertise, and if you think outside the box, all that can also apply to many, many other areas if you allow it. So thank you so much for sharing, because I think that's an extremely valid point for people to be aware that just because you may not have studied that does not mean to say that your expertise and your life experience is not available to help someone. If you allow yourself to break out and look at where those opportunities can be. And
if you're willing to learn.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously, I've now learned business language, you know, and how these people, obviously, I wouldn't have been able to help them if I wasn't willing to go over that bridge. And I think that is really, really, really important.
It is. It is. It's having what I call 60 seconds of insane courage and stepping into something that, wow, I'm not sure, but hey, let's have a go. And that's where opportunities come. So
exactly.
Thank you so much for sharing that. What languages do you speak?
My father was German. My mother was English. I grew up with German, English, and French. And here in Switzerland, we also speak Swiss German, which is like a entirely different language from High German. But basically English, German, and French.
Awesome. Best 3 languages out. The 3 languages I studied when I was in high school, but do not ask me to remember much of what I studied. I can get around with hello and goodbye, but that's about all I remember from that. Was quite a long time ago too. So that was like way back in the Jurassic period when I went to school. So
only about 5 years ago.
Oh, gee, you're so nice, Tessa. Thank you. I wanted to let's talk about your journey of your book, because I think that's Our Secret Potential, and your approach to purpose, performance, and well-being in the 21st century. This is basically your life experience digested into sharing. You've got a copy of the book there?
Yes, I do, actually. This is what it looks like.
Awesome. I love it. Do you want to share a little bit about how that came into being and how?
Absolutely. So I already wrote a book a while back, which was sharing more of the spiritual journey, maybe, but I realized that I was probably not going to reach that many people, even though it was already talking about modern physics and, you know, trying to bridge that gap. And this is taking that into my current life. So I wanted to write something for people, for the kind of people that I work with. And as a reader said, you know, bridge the gap between the magical spiritual and the rational scientific, to see how it could work so that people who are not used to thinking like this can actually start exploring this side. But it was also, you know, trying to show how you know, it was also a result of me getting sick, of course, and understanding that that was like showing me a potential I didn't even know existed, you know, this, what I'm doing now. And I observed that with my clients. So it was trying to bring all of these aspects into a hopefully fairly simple approach, which of course it's not in it by itself, but I've tried to break it down. So yes, so and the way I see it is there is that individual potential. So you know, what you are meant to be doing, and life kind of gives you a little knock to push you into fulfilling that potential, into realizing it, expressing it, like my urge to start creating something outside of classical music. But there's also that potential that I see, and that this is a result, of course, also of working in business, that I see that we have, as human beings, as a race, as a species, that we're not using, you know. So the governance of the head over, I talk about the three brains, over the other two brains, the heart and the gut, for instance, and how if we create coherence of all three, we reach an entirely new level of our human potential. It's like stepping into a new world. It's not just, you know, it's by changing the perception of the world actually changes completely. It's a world where miracles can happen and do happen, and they're not the exception, because they're part of what this world is meant to be. This is the way I see it.
Oh, I love that. I love the potential. It's something that's always sort of annoyed me. We have so much potential, seeds planted in each of us. And it's so sad sometimes when people don't reach that potential. They lock it away, or they bring it out and then get scared and hide. And I love that. But you see the potential, and you've not only brought your own potential out, but you use it and get it to bring other people's potential out. And potential can take us so far, can it not? It really can. We just don't seem to get it. How long did it take you to write your book?
5 years.
Wow, awesome. 5 years.
Because I was trying to bring in all of those aspects and make it fairly simple. Yeah.
Okay. How's the book worked for you? How have you leveraged it?
To be honest, I'm only just starting.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm taking it like now as a starter of a conversation, basically.
Good.
I do see it also as proof of my expertise.
Yep.
Obviously, and I'm sure it will help me open doors. I've also written a workbook,
mm-hmm.
Which I will be. So I'm offering programs on, you know, how to actually, so you can read the book, just be inspired, or you can read the book and do a program. Yeah, that's about it at the moment. But, you know, it's happening.
It is, and congratulations to you on that book, because it sounds like it's a book that was an easy one to write, but one that needed to be written, and that you have managed to bring in all those disparate portions into a whole. Well done on that. And also congratulations on knowing that once you've written the book, you need to step up and do something about it. You can't just hide it. And there's so many people who write so many beautiful books and then hide them. They don't do anything about it. So congratulations on that. I love the way what you said, that it's a conversation starter. I think people don't think about that. It's a great conversation starter. And also I love the way that you said that it's to your expertise and credibility. That's what the two things that people don't think about when they run. That's what the book does for you. It's not the knowledge is great, but it's how you can leverage it, which is helping you to work. What's been the biggest challenge for you, do you believe, in getting known, being seen for what you do, for your new business and for the book? What's been the biggest challenge?
I think, so if I go back over the course of my life, certainly the biggest challenge was that I started new over and over again. So I was known as a classical musician. I had an international career. You know, as a musician, the way you get yourself known is you audition.
Yeah.
And of course you give concerts and you teach and you do all those things. So I had a reputation, I had a name. Now, when I started painting, of course, who is Tessa Richter, you know? And so having to adapt. And then, of course, when I started doing language training in businesses, another whole different world. Now again doing my book and the programs. Obviously I can build now because it is in the business realm, my clients, but basically understanding in the area that I would start working, how people in that area, where they look for what they're looking for. So for instance, with my language training, I actually did something that I never did before, or not in that way. I picked up the phone and called businesses, or I called schools and said, you know, I have extra capacity. Do you have any need for somebody like me? So before this, I had a website where I was advertising career coaching as because I thought that's also something that people, you know, that is connected to what I was doing with the, you know, helping people who've lost their jobs. All I did was I wrote some articles. I did a lot of content on my website, and I linked myself with other people, interesting people. And after doing that for 5 years, just doing what I enjoyed doing, suddenly I was comparing myself to an organization that is like much bigger than just me individual. And I came up at the top of Google ranking without having done any marketing whatsoever. It's like any marketing expert would tell you, no way. You need to be on social media, you need to do this, you need that. So the advice I would give is find out who you are.
Yeah.
So this comes back to know yourself, love who you are. So love, you know, that's where the energy is. So if you like I do, like sharing my story and my findings, do that. If you know, love social media, do social media. And then also, you know, create what matters. I think it's important that when you go out there, you will be more powerful if you're doing something on purpose that has to do with your purpose, and not just, oh, what would be a good way to earn my money, you know, kind of thing. I think there's just a lot more energy in there, and you will have more impact.
Brilliant. Awesome. I love that. Those are probably some of the best gold nuggets that people can take away from this. I love the fact it's the creation, and it was the content. It's the creation of content, and content really does rule. And you've shown that you can, if you produce good content and content that people want to read and can connect with people, that can get you to where you want to be. You don't have to advertise. You don't have to, if you've got good, quick content that people want and will read. So I love that about the content. And again, about sharing your story and looking where people are. It is that the thing I think that you've brought to this for people to take away, and that I think is absolutely awesome, is the fact that you have reinvented yourself each time. You have changed. And each time that you've reinvented yourself, you've used a different way of doing it. But underpinning all of that, you've just shared with us, are the three things that even if you change 2, 3, or 4 times, if you follow those, it doesn't matter how many times you change or where you want to go. You follow those aspects, you're going to get there. And that's a lovely outcome from your journey. Thank you so much, Tessa, for sharing that. Love it. Absolutely.
My pleasure.
Who would you say has influenced you the most?
I saw that question, and to be honest, I can't really say.
And that's fine.
I think people basically inspire me. Excuse me. People who create miracles for themselves, who overcome crises, hardships, illnesses, who heal miraculously. That's what inspires me. I can't say there's one person. I think there are, over the course of my life, stories I've heard or read where I think, wow, you know, it's possible. That is what inspires me.
And that is a very good outcome from you, because I think that actually portrays your life, because when you change, you found inspiration for each change. So yes, it's what you found it within the people around you, the people you want to connect. And often there's not just one, there is several, and sometimes it is just people. There's always something that inspires you, and thank you for sharing that, because I think that answer really portrays who Tessa is and where she's come from. So thank you. Absolutely.
Thanks, Trish.
Now, where could people get a copy of your book?
So I have a website, a landing page. It's called oursecretpotential, all in one.com.
Okay.
And basically you can buy the book anywhere, in any bookstore, in your local bookstore, online, the big ones, Book Depository, Amazon. Yeah.
And I have that link below, people, for the website. And if they want to connect with you and have another chat with you further, we're on your
also best way is through the website, easiest way. Just get in touch. I'd love to hear from you.
Yes, people, look, connected to, I think Tessa has a really different aspect on where you want to go, and I love the way that she's brought that self-experience and expertise to the business world, which is a little bit of a different thing for people to connect. I think there's a lot there to be said for connecting with Tessa, so please do connect. One last thing, what would you like to leave us with?
Love who you are,
Mm-hmm.
and trust life.
Thank you. Very awesome, very deep, very spiritual, and very, very true words. Thank you so much, Tessa, for being with us. I do appreciate your time. Thank you.
Thank you, Trish, for bringing out the best in me. You're an awesome interviewer.
Thank you. I've got an awesome lady to speak with. We've run out of time as usual. I have so much. I could have a discussion with so many different ways we could go, but I appreciate your time here. People, you've been watching Get Known, Be Seen Web TV. We've just had an awesome discussion with Tessa Richter, and I think there'll be many spots here where you're going to have to put that stop, rewind and replay just to pick up some of the brilliant things that Tessa has shared with us in this short time that we have together. The things that I think is those last two words that Tessa shared about loving yourself and believing in yourself and doing what you want in that way. It is so powerful when you own who you are. I love the things that she shared about the change and how you don't have to be locked into one. If you have the courage to move, Tessa's done so much reinventing in a way. I don't know if it's actually reinventing, but what she's done is looked and thought, where can I go now? And taken the experiences from last time and use them to help her explore in a new direction. So I think there's a lot to be said there for resilience and flexibility and for change and for really absorbing change and making it work for you. Brilliant. People, you've been watching Get Known, Be Seen Web TV. I'm your host, Trish Springsteen. Get Known, Be Seen Web TV is a place for those who have got a book, got a message, got a business or product that they want to talk about, and they're going to take that deep breath and finally say, hey, here I am. This is an opportunity for you to come on as a guest and share your passion, share your expertise. It's also a place for those who are experts in helping you to get known, be seen. And I have many of those who come on to share their expertise and strategies and techniques on how to get out there and be seen. So if you would like to be a guest on my show, just connect with me below. There's a link there. Send me a PM or send me an email, and I would love to have you as a guest on Get Known BC and Web TV. Of course, if you would like to have me as a guest on your show, absolutely would be delighted to come and share my own story and my own expertise with your community. And if you would like me to speak on your at your event, on a meeting, either in person or online, because we have such opportunities now to go globally, I would be delighted to come and share my message with your audiences. Be awesome, people. Just take the challenges, find out who you are, own it, and grab all the potential that is hidden inside you and go with it. Until next time, thank you so much for watching. Thank you, Tessa, for being with us.